support the Zambian Conservation Farming Unit received from the Royal Norwegian Government, we were able to roll out a conservation farming pilot scheme across the East Southern Africa region. It enabled us to field test whether the CF practices, when correctly applied in these other countries, could yield the same types of benefits that they have in Zambia. It also enabled the Zambian Conservation Farming Unit to test a new model with which to roll out our services. And that new model required us identifying and selecting partners in these respective countries to manage programs in their countries and provide the kind of technical support and training that is required on the part of farmers to successfully adopt these practices.
I think the idea of supporting the regional program grew out of the fact that we had seen great results from our CFU's Zambian program over many years. And I think the program both in Zambia and regionally can be put under different headlines, but definitely at the time in 2010, 2011, when the regional program was prepared, climate change adaptation was the headline of the time, and it still is. So helping farmers to produce good crops and make a good living even when the weather is unpredictable and even when possibly you see long-term climate change.
It is one way of ensuring that without, or in spite of these climatic difficulties that East and Southern Africa are facing, there will be enough food for farmers, there will be enough productivity to keep farmers in business. It's actually an insurance against crop failure.
This farming method saves me so much time.
My production costs are less than half of what they used to be.
I have more than doubled my yield, so using conservation agriculture is really something to boast about.
Our approach involves hands-on practical training of community-selected lead farmers who, after acquiring the necessary training, delivery and technical skills, then train and monitor the progress of at least 10 farmers each. Knowledge sharing between farmers is encouraged through sharing their experiences at field days, which are held regularly throughout the growing season.
Now, conservation agriculture is quite important in Meru County because most often we don't have reliable info. It's quite erratic, poorly distributed, and with the climate variability which is with us, we in most cases also have crop failure. So it is really a practice that we feel can go a long way to contribute to food security in this county and even in this country at large.
From the previous records, the production of the same plot has increased by, say, 40% from the previous. And the quality of crops actually has improved as well.
Now we leave crop residues in the fields, fertility is returning to the soil.
Conservation agriculture gives me time to work on other ways to improve my economic status, herd my goats, care for my rabbits and chickens.
I can now pay for household expenses without relying on my husband's salary. I'm also saving to buy a cow.
Conservation agriculture, generally, we may call it a modern way of farming. Long time ago, people used to think that farming is a matter of having food and keeping it for sustainability. But currently, people are doing business farming. People should embrace this type of agriculture because it brings some profit at the end of the day.
There are so many things that you have to do in life. You got to pay school fees for my children. I've also got to take care of my family. And the remaining we take for leisure because you have to create time for yourself because you're not living here for whatever.
In 2013, we tried a very small plot of conservation agriculture because I was doubting and wanted to prove the method. After the trial, well then we were convinced it was beneficial.
On 1 acre, I used to get 6 bags. Now on that same acre, I get 27 bags of maize. When I was doing conventional agriculture, I couldn't even feed my family. Now I can take good care of my family. I have bought a bicycle, iron sheets for my roof, a phone, and some livestock.
I have sent my children to school. One is training at an agricultural research station. Conservation agriculture has been a learning ground for me, and I can see it is a real agribusiness.
Doing conventional agriculture, I didn't have much. But today, I have a new house, a bicycle, livestock, a solar panel, and a TV screen.
Being a single mother, I only had time to cultivate a small portion of my land. I didn't have the energy to do more. I am now able to sustain my life and my family. My children are healthy and have food. You see, we are both living with HIV/AIDS. As you know, people living with HIV/AIDS need to have a lot of time to rest. In the past, we would go out and do a lot of hard work and we used to fall ill. But now, with the coming of conservation agriculture, we don't do so much work. We are able to rest and gain some health. Sometimes we would be late because of the farming and our teacher would send us home. We used to go to school hungry, but now we can go to school on time and eat food before we go.
As you can see, in this field, the crops are very big compared to my neighbor. There, they have almost nothing.
I would say that the project also helped us to work with government entities, work with the private sector, the agro-dealers, as well as the university, to develop systems for upscaling conservation agriculture in Malawi.
HRNS promotes sustainable development for small-scale coffee farmers. Our approach covers the entire farm system in order to improve production and quality of both cash and food crops. The CARP program has contributed to the implementation of our approach by addressing the issue of food security through climate-resilient conservation farming.
My neighbors were laughing so much, saying we were wasting our time, ripping lines and planting single seeds on our field. It was so different. Even I had two minds, saying to myself, am I going to do it? Is it worth it? Or am I wasting my time? We would lose money using conventional farming, getting 2 to 3 bags per acre. Now we get 25 to 35 bags per acre, and so food is plentiful and we have food security in our house. Now I spend less time on the farm. I am concentrating on my business activities. For example, here in my shop I sell avocados, bananas and buns.
I have enough food in my house, can send my children to school and buy them clothes. I have money for social activities, for example, contributions to weddings and funerals, and to pay for government services. With the traditional disc plow, I would plow 8 acres per day. Using the rippers, I can now rip up to 15 acres. The maintenance is easier, and I'm making more profit. The farmers are also benefiting, as previously I would charge them 35,000 shillings, and now I charge them 20,000 shillings. Now I use a tractor tillage service provider. I would never have used one with conventional plowing because it was too expensive, and there weren't enough tractors in the area available. I used the village football ground as my demonstration. It was solid like a rock, yet still I got a good result. Now I see that conservation agriculture will liberate this community. Our standards of living will improve and we will reduce our social problems, such as family fighting and the problems in marriage that comes from lack of food security and poverty.
I regret my days of traditional farming now. It was like trying to put water to fill a sisal bag. It would never get full. I'm now economically stable and no longer wasting my time and energy.
I will continue this practice for the rest of my life.
We're here to support the cotton sector to increase production. We're here to increase quality. We're here to increase the use of certain inputs and improved seeds in order to improve the livelihoods not only of small-scale farmers but also of investors within the cotton sector. We're starting to get traction finally because it's very difficult for small-scale farmers to take on new ideas and to take on new technologies. But certainly in the last 2 years, we've seen significant increases in the numbers.
Before conservation agriculture, our family life was bad, covered with poverty and nothing to call our own. And now that we have a house, chickens and cows, my wife is happy.
This technique should spread to the whole community. It would eliminate poverty in our society and rescue our community from hunger and food insecurity.
It has been difficult to find reliable tractor providers, and so we took the step to join together as farmers and buy our own tractors. We expect to have up to 600 clients next year.
The program managed to train up to 3,000 lead farmers, but still there was a challenge of availability of inputs at the village level. In 2013, the program changed its approach by graduating 500 lead farmers to become lead farmer agents. What the program has been doing is linking them with input suppliers, regulatory bodies, to train them on use of inputs, impact on the environment, impact on health, and how they can access them and finally sell them to farmers at the village level. Lead farmer agents had set up shops, 83 shops at different villages in different districts, and this they're doing with their own money.
Now I'm an entrepreneur and a farmer at the same time. I'm a businesswoman. I started with 300,000 shillings and now my capital is 6 million.
I plan to get a loan so I can expand as I have many farmers in need of inputs. I have seen a big change in my homestead. We are food secure. My children are at school. I have built a guest house, which is another business, and my farming is easier as I have money for inputs.
Our approach involves a system of village-based training that enables participating farmers to develop practical skills vital for replicating and adopting conservation agriculture on their own fields. This hands-on and practical-based training and demonstration approach, alongside knowledge sharing between farmers, is the most effective way to persuade farmers of the very real benefits of conservation agriculture opposed to conventional methods.
Among others here, what we're practicing is conservation farming using the Reaper technology, which has lifted our productivity per area from 18 bags from an acre to nearly 30 bags from an acre. It also saves time, so we are able to work in a short time to produce more food to put on the plates of our inmates. And lastly, of course, it goes and gets integrated in our rehabilitation programs on the unit.
My yield has increased. Formerly, I used to get about 6 bags of maize from this quarter-acre field. But when I put the whole basin in practice, I got 10 bags, and yet the crop was badly hit by weather.
My yields improved dramatically. Before using conservation agriculture, I got 375 kilograms from half an acre. After implementing conservation agriculture, past season I got 816 kilograms and the second season 1,160 kilograms.
Now we produce enough food to start having lunch at school. We are now feeding both pupil and teachers. I have realized that the performance of the pupils has also greatly increased.
Conservation farming really pays. For the few seasons I have practiced it, I've really seen a great change in my life and the family members at large. I have finished building my house, I bought a pig which you can see lying there, and a few goats also. You have enough time for your family members because you spend less time in the field. The good yields help you have food security in your house and you'll be able to do whatever you want with the money. Pay school fees, pay for medical bills, and so on.
Recently, they also told us to ensure that we plant trees. And that is one idea that is helping us so much. When you look around, when you move around these places, people are planting several trees. Though other programs came in, but they were not so much close to the people. But these ones have paid close attention to the interests of the farmers.
Here we can see a breakdown of adopters and area under adoption during the life of CARP. The sharp increase towards the end of the programme demonstrates how that once a programme begins to get off the ground, momentum quickly builds, and we would expect to see a continuous strong upward trend in future years. As a result of the programme, $4.4 million worth of off-farm commercial services were delivered, comprising of $42,758 of spray services, $560,011 of mechanised and animal draft tillage services, $346,824 of basin digging services, $2,985,615 of lead farmer agent input sales, $533,671 in financial links.
Climate, as we know, is changing across the world, and just by enabling better soil structure, better soil fertility, better water retention within the soil, we can start mitigating against some of the worst effects of climate change.
The program was aimed at first developing and adapting technologies for those regions, for people to improve their conservation agriculture and generally climate-smart agricultural technologies. And on the way, we had to stimulate private sector to provide the inputs that were required.
The Zambian CFU considers this